Technically, my fiancé, 26-year-old male, and I, 23-year-old, have already been married. When I was 21, I gave birth when I was 22. My baby's birthday is before mine. I got pregnant, and coming from a religious conservative background, we got married at the courthouse to avoid having a baby out of wedlock. It was a small ceremony, mostly out of expectation. No fancy dress, no fancy cake. And hell, the person I wanted for my maid of honor wasn't able to come due to living in another country at the time. It's safe to say it wasn't a glamorous dream wedding, but it was ours and one that I was good with. After my daughter was born, I proposed the idea of having a proper wedding when she was old enough to be in it, and my husband liked the idea. So we started planning, and we picked the people we wanted most in the wedding to be the key players, which looked a bit like this: groomsman, husband's uncle, husband's best friend, husband's brother; bridesmaids, best friend of 20 years, best friend of 11 years, flying in from out of the country, husband's aunt; flower children, husband's cousin, 7-year-old male, and daughter, 3 years old; ring bearer, cousin, 14-year-old male. It's worth noting our ring bearer is actually a cow my husband bought me, and the boy will be guiding the cow. His family is a group of generational farmers. Okay, insert mom. We've had a rocky relationship, mostly because she signed away all her rights as a mother and cut off contact with me or manipulated me on and off for 13 years. Around 21, I got the desire to reach out because I had gotten word of 2 things. 1, she had 2 daughters I had never met, and 2, she was sober and had found God. Now, I'm not religious, but if it works for you, more power to you. My mom was mostly changed, raising 2 girls, 11-year-old, 8-year-old, as a stay-at-home mom. She also became an anti-vaxxer, fundamentalist Christian, raising my sisters to be hateful flat earthers. But I can't win them all, I guess. I ended up attending her wedding at the last minute when I messaged her, and she announced she was getting married to her 3rd husband, not the girl's father, then promptly invited me to show good faith. It was a fine ceremony. All went well. She even made me a bridesmaid, and shortly after, I reconnected with my husband, whom I had met in high school. I have seen my mom and the girls a handful of times from then to now, maybe 5 to 6 times, mostly due to distance and lack of free time. There's just one small snag. I don't see these girls as my sisters. Cruel, I know. The girls are fine, lovely children, and I do care for them, but it's less of a big sisterly care and more of a kid that I'm babysitting or a distant niece kind of care. The thing is, I have 9 half-siblings from my parents. Both parents have been married 3 times. Dad likes blended families, and I don't feel connected to any of them outside of 1 to 2 from my dad's second marriage, so it's not just her children. I posted an announcement on social media about the wedding. It was just information about location, attire expectations, who was who, the day and time, etc. So no one was confused or caught off guard. Most people reacted normally. My mother, however, did not. She called me and asked why my little sisters weren't included in the wedding, and I pointed out that none of my siblings were included in the wedding, and it was mostly made up of my husband's family. I noticed that I feel like you could drop husband's aunt or Mo H to make room for the girls, so it's a more equal family affair. I will not be doing this, to be clear. She asked why they couldn't be flower girls, if not bridesmaids. Originally, I was only going to have my daughter be the flower girl as a special treat since we waited for this moment. But the little cousin asked, and I have been his favorite for the past 3 years, so I said yes, plus he loves my daughter. So had I said no, there was a chance he would have run down the aisle anyway. I explained this to her, and she began to argue more about how my daughter was too little to be a flower girl, and I should allow the girls that at least, and I told her I had other things to do. She calls my husband, asking if there's any way he can talk me into letting the girls be at the wedding, and he says he will try. Which essentially led to him asking if I'd be willing to do a bride tribe. Type thing. My mom had done this. The women all wore similar dresses at the wedding. We got our nails and hair done. Kind of like a bachelorette party, but less of a party and more of a series of girls' days prior to the wedding to prepare for the wedding. I was I wasn't thrilled with the idea because if I were going to do something like that, I still couldn't imagine it including my mom's kids. Instead, it would mostly be the women in his family, with maybe 1 to 2 on my side. I'm just not connected with my birth family, especially my mom's side, the way I am with his. His family took me in when I was at my lowest, and it was the first time I didn't feel secretly resented by a family. I told him I didn't know, and he asked me to think about it because it could be a fun bonding thing for me and the girls. They don't know my detached feelings for them, as I've always been as accommodating and loving as possible when around them. My mom calls and asks why I haven't updated the announcement to include the girls, and I tell her it's because they aren't part of the wedding, but I offer her the idea of doing the bride tribe my husband suggested. I figure if it would get her to calm down, I could deal with it. It wouldn't unalive me to have them spend 2 to 3 days with me, getting pampered, and who knows, maybe I could bond with them or do something like my husband suggested. She calls with a new brilliant idea. Sarcasm. She wants the girls, who have never been around cattle, to help walk the cow down the aisle. I tell her no, that we chose him because he's been around cattle all his life. She was disappointed, but more or less understood, and asked if I had reconsidered having the girls be part of the wedding at all. I told her we were thinking about doing a bridal party, which she immediately shot down, followed by an ultimatum that the girls were either in the wedding or they weren't coming. I tell her I need to think about it, even though I really don't. I text the oldest daughter and ask her how important it is for her and her sister to be in the wedding. Even though I'm not super attached to them, they view me as the cool older sister. She replies that she doesn't care one way or another, but she does want to see me and the baby at some point. I do allow them to have aunt status for the record. I relay to my husband my mother's ultimatum, as well as the girls' feelings. And my husband basically tells me to do what I want, and I'll see them in the summer regardless. I text my mom and tell her the girls can either be part of the bridal party or I'll see them in the summer when they come down. I only agreed to the idea of the bridal party because it seemed like the easiest solution that didn't interfere with my actual setup. She says I'm being unfair to the girls to spite her. She let me be in her wedding, so why can't I do the same for them? I snapped that the girls told me they didn't care one way or the other, so why did she? She said I was being a bridezilla and that she didn't get why it was such a big deal, given I had already been married for 2 years. I asked her why she was making it one when it didn't have to be. There was a bit more back and forth, and ultimately she hung up royally pissed. So am I in the wrong here? Unexpected. Update. My mom will not be coming. My mother-in-law and I were talking about the wedding, and my biological mom called. She wants to know what I'm up to, and I told her I was wedding dress shopping online to maintain cordiality, as I haven't officially told her I'm revoking her invite at this point. She asked to send my top 3 dresses, and for some reason I did. Yes, I'm ready to be victim blamed. The dress I'm most in love with, she immediately hates because it's too revealing, and the dress I dislike the most out of the 3, but still like, is her favorite because it's more modest. I don't know why, but this irked me, and I told her she could just stay home, and if the girls wanted to attend, I'd make arrangements to get them, but she wasn't allowed. Dress link to those curious. Her preferred dress for reference. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Listen, here's what's going to happen. You back down and accept what is going to happen, the wedding I planned, or you will be cut off fully and completely. Your choice. There is no middle ground in this. There is the wedding you want or the wedding your bully mother wants. Comment 2. Girl, you need to sort this out with a therapist. You are letting someone with whom you have a minimal relationship still take over your life. You have to learn to deal with this. It's the equivalent of a random stranger off the street having an opinion. Now, for the update. Day 1. So, remember how I told you guys about the whole wedding drama with my mom? Well, buckle up because things just went from bad to worse. After the whole dress debacle, I thought I had made it clear to my mom that she wasn't welcome at the wedding anymore. But oh boy, was I wrong. Turns out, my mom had been talking to my husband's aunt, the one who's supposed to be one of my bridesmaids. They've been secretly planning a surprise for the wedding, thinking it would smooth things over. The surprise? My mom wanted to have my half-sisters perform a song during the ceremony. Now, remember, these are the same sisters I'm not close with, and my mom knows I wanted a simple ceremony. Day 2. I found out about the surprise when my husband's aunt accidentally let it slip during a family dinner. I was livid. Not only had my mom gone behind my back, but she had also dragged my husband's family into this mess. I confronted my husband's aunt, and she tried to defend herself, saying she just wanted to help mend fences. I couldn't believe she didn't see how this was crossing a line. I mean, we're talking about the same aunt who's been like a second mother to me ever since I moved in with my husband's family. She was there for me when I had nowhere else to go, and now she was siding with my mom? Day 3. The drama hit its peak today. My mom showed up at my house unannounced with my half-sisters in tow. She demanded to know why I was excluding them from the wedding and said I was being selfish. I tried to stay calm, but it was hard. I mean, this is the same woman who abandoned me when I was a kid, and now she's trying to guilt-trip me? In the heat of the moment, I blurted out that I didn't even see them as my real sisters. It was harsh, but it was the truth, and my mom was shocked, and my half-sisters looked hurt. I felt terrible for saying it in front of them, but I was so tired of my mom's manipulation. The confrontation ended with my mom storming out, saying she'd make sure the whole family knew what a terrible person I was. As for my half-sisters, I promised them we'd hang out this summer, just not at the wedding. My dad and stepsister confront me about stealing Luciana's crush, but when Noel cheats with her, I find comfort in my family and friends, not him. So I am 16 years old and live with my mom, who is 37 years old, and my stepdad, Diego, who is also 37. Basically, my parents divorced when I was 9 years old because my dad cheated. My dad, who is 45, quickly remarried to my stepmom, Rosa, who is 42, and she came with my stepsister, Luciana, who is also 16. Basically, at first, I stayed with my dad and stepmom, but it was hell. I would only get the basics while my stepsister got everything, and they would always side with her in every confrontation we had. That's why I ended up moving with my mom, with whom I have a much better relationship. The only reason why I didn't stay with her was because she was kind of going through a rough patch with the divorce and my granddad's recent passing. But she got back on her feet, and when she asked me to go live with her full-time, I didn't hesitate. She eventually remarried to my stepdad, who was her high school boyfriend, and they had my little brother Benjamin 4 years ago. Anyway, ever since I moved to my mom's house, I refused to talk to my dad. Every meeting we had was completely against my will, and I actually have a much better relationship with Diego, who's the nicest guy I ever met. My dad is a jerk, and I won't even bother to tell you why. I think you can figure it out by the things I wrote already. So, I've been dating my boyfriend Noel, who is 16 years old, for over 10 months. Our relationship has been amazing so far. He's just the sweetest and funniest guy I know. We've always been affectionate with each other at school. We're not making out in front of everyone, but we are always hugging and all. Luciana goes to the same school as I do, but we have different classes. And Noel, our friends, and I usually stay in the classroom during recess, playing with cards and all. So I've never run into Luciana. From what I know, she usually walks around the hall. Anyway, in my country, we're on summer break, and I haven't been to school in over 2 months. The thing is, I went to my dad's house to pick something up after work, and since it was late to go home walking, I called Noel to pick me up. He showed up a couple of minutes later, as always. I greeted him with a kiss on the lips and got in his dad's car. Everything went normally. But the next day, my dad asked me to go to his house because he needed to talk to me. I went there, and both Luciana and he were sitting on the couch, and they asked me to sit. I asked what the hell was going on, and my dad started to talk about how disrespectful it was to date my stepsister's crush, much more to bring him here. I stopped him right there. I told him that Noel and I had been dating for almost a year and that he doesn't even know about Luciana's existence. This hurt her. She told me to shut up, but I replied, "That is the truth." He Dallin. My dad suggested I should break up with him, but I told him to shut the frick up, that I wasn't going to break up with my boyfriend because my delusional stepsister has a crush on a guy she doesn't even know. Plus, I told her she was such an intimacy lover for trying to ruin her stepsister's relationship and to set her eyes on a boy that's not taken because my boyfriend is. I left before they could argue. Yeah, I know that Noel and I are teenagers and it is hard for us to actually last, but I'm not going to break up with him because my jerk of a dad and the brat of my stepsister say so. No, definitely not. Am I the idiot? P.S. English is not my first language. I apologize for any mistakes. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. NTA and oh my lord, that was so satisfying. You go, girl. But yeah, watch out because your stepsister might try some stuff. Like mother, like daughter. Laughing my face off being a homewrecker runs in the genes. Comment 2. NTA. I hope you told your mom and boyfriend about this encounter. Geez, your stepsister is entitled. I suggest going no contact with your dad because he really doesn't have your back. What a terrible parent. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the support and advice you all gave me. So it's been 2 weeks since the whole blow up with my dad and Luciana, and boy, do I have an update for you. First off, let me give you a bit of history about my relationship with Noel. We met in freshman year, and it was like one of those movie moments where everything just clicks. He was new to the school, and I remember him being so lost trying to find his way around. I helped him out, and we've been inseparable ever since. He's been my rock through all the drama with my dad and Luciana, always there to listen and make me laugh when I needed it most. Now, back to the present. After the confrontation with my dad and Luciana, things with Noel were going great, or so I thought. We were spending almost every day together since it's summer break, and I was really happy. But then something changed. Noel started acting distant, and I couldn't figure out why. I thought maybe he was just stressed about something, so I gave him space. Then one day, I was at the mall with my mom, and we ran into Rosa, my stepmom. She was always kind to me, despite everything with my dad and Luciana. She pulled me aside and told me she thought I should know something. My heart sank as she explained that she had seen Noel and Luciana together at a cafe, looking very cozy. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I confronted Noel about it the next day. He tried to deny it at first, but eventually he admitted that he and Luciana had been talking and that he had developed feelings for her. I was devastated. I couldn't understand how he could do this to me, how he could betray me with my stepsister of all people. We had been through so much together, and he knew how much I struggled with my relationship with Luciana. The heartbreak was intense. I felt like I had lost my best friend and my boyfriend all at once. I couldn't even look at him without feeling a mix of anger and sadness. I told him it was over, and he didn't even fight for us. He just accepted it and left. In the midst of all this, Diego, my stepdad, has been amazing. He's been there to comfort me and has even offered to talk to Noel, but I told him it wasn't necessary. I needed to handle this on my own. My mom has been a pillar of strength too, reminding me that I deserve someone who respects me and my feelings. As for Luciana, I haven't spoken to her since the incident at my dad's house. I can't even bring myself to confront her about Noel. It's like she's living in her own world, where she doesn't care about anyone else's feelings. And my dad, well, he's been trying to reach out, but I've been ignoring his calls. I just can't deal with him right now, not after everything that's happened. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but I'm slowly picking up the pieces. I've been hanging out with my friends more, trying to keep myself busy and not think about Noel and Luciana. It's hard, but I'm getting through it. In a strange twist, I've actually become closer to Benjamin, my little brother, through all of this. He's only 4, but he has this way of making me smile even when I feel like crying. He doesn't understand what's going on, of course, but his hugs have been a source of comfort. I snapped at my mom for pressuring me to have kids, but when she revealed her pregnancy and struggling business, I had to set boundaries. I, 26-year-old female, am the oldest of 3, 15-year-old male, 9-year-old male. My mom had an unexpected pregnancy when she was 21, hence the age gap. I will try to make this short. I spent the majority of my teenage years babysitting and caring for my brothers, down to waiting for them to wake up in the night to bottle feed them or change diapers. When they got a bit older, I would drop them off and pick them up from sports practice, make lunches for school, and do laundry. My parents owned a very popular restaurant/bar, so they spent multiple nights out of the week and weekends at the restaurant. I know they were not always working because they would come stumbling in the house in the middle of the night drunk and loud. I did not have much of a social life, and times were often difficult. Between school, being constantly tired, dealing with my own mental health, etc., I felt alone. They made me feel like it was my obligation to raise my brothers, and made me feel worse when I tried to explain how it was too much for me to do alone. When I began college, things started picking up for me. I made friends and I met my boyfriend, 28-year-old male. We now live together and are coming up on 4 years of dating. I have a good job, social life, and relationship. I have made sure to put time aside for just me. I am able to take care of myself better and cultivate hobbies such as weightlifting, hiking with my puppy, etc. My boyfriend is extremely supportive and understanding that I need me time. Here's the problem. My mom is obsessed with the idea of having grandchildren. She wants one so bad. I do not want kids. I don't resent my brothers or my parents, but I do not want to be a parent. Anytime she sees a baby, she goes on about grandchildren. When she finds my old baby stuff, she says, "I guess I can throw this stuff out since no one will be using it." She tells me it won't be a big deal if I just have one. That it's selfish of me to not have a baby when everyone else in the family has had children. Parenting just does not seem fun for me. I don't see an issue. Anyways, we were all having dinner together at a restaurant and a family walks in with a baby. My mom immediately started gushing and made a snarky remark that I won't have a child. I got very annoyed and snapped at her. I told her that I don't want kids because I raised hers, that she should stop guilting me, and she only wants one because she regrets not being there for us. I built a life for myself, and she should be proud that I did not give up on my or my brother's futures. She was really upset, and we cut dinner short. My dad said that what I said was uncalled for. My boyfriend has my side and is glad I put my foot down. But now I feel bad for snapping at her, especially in front of my brothers, which I told them both afterwards that I love them and do not regret my time with them. I love my mom, I really do. But I really hate that she is so obsessed with me having children. Am I the jerk for going off at my mom? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. But of course, she was the perfect mother, and you saying otherwise is breaking a facade that she is keen to maintain. And you not having children is an insult to her mothering too. That's what has gotten her all riled up. You are bursting the picture she has of herself and she hopes everyone else has. Being told you were not the perfect mother is dreadful for her, but it's true and she's ashamed of it. She'll have to live with it though. Now she knows you won't hold back. Maybe she will shut up about you having children. Comment 2, not the idiot. You were parentified as a child, i.e., they abdicated their responsibilities, hence not wanting children pos. Not the idiot. You said nothing that was inaccurate or wrong. You have nothing to apologize for. Tell your father that the two of them need to apologize for abandoning you as a child and not being the parents they should. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the support and advice you all gave me. So a lot has happened in the past 3 days, and I thought I'd give you an update. After the dinner blow-up, things got really tense at home. My mom was giving me the silent treatment, which honestly was a relief at first. But then my youngest brother, the 9-year-old, came to me with tears in his eyes. He said he overheard Mom crying in her room, saying she felt like a failure as a parent. That hit me hard. Despite everything, I never wanted her to feel that way. I decided to have a heart-to-heart with her. I went over to their house while my dad was at the restaurant. We sat down, and I started by apologizing for snapping at her in public. I explained that her constant pressure about grandchildren was really getting to me. She listened quietly, which was rare for her. Then she dropped a bombshell. She confessed that she was actually pregnant again. She was terrified of going through it all over again, especially since my brothers and I were older, and she couldn't rely on me like before. She admitted that her obsession with me having kids was partly because she was scared of being a mom again at her age and was hoping I'd have a baby so she could experience it vicariously without the responsibility. I was shocked. I mean, my parents were always the life of the party, but I didn't think they'd be expanding the family at this stage. My mom broke down, saying she felt alone because my dad was always at the restaurant, and she was worried about starting over with a baby. I comforted her, and we actually had a moment. It was the first time in a long time that we connected on an emotional level. I told her I'd be there for her, but I also made it clear that I wasn't going to be a third parent this time around. The next day, my boyfriend and I went for a hike with our puppy to clear our heads. He's been my rock through all of this. We talked about my mom's news and what it meant for our relationship. He reassured me that we were in this together and that my decision not to have kids was one he fully supported. But then, another twist. My 15-year-old brother called me, sounding frantic. He said he overheard my dad talking on the phone about the restaurant. Apparently, it's not doing well financially, and my dad is considering selling it. That explained why my parents had been so stressed lately and why they were out so much. They were trying to save their business. I couldn't believe it. The restaurant was their life. It was also the reason I had to grow up so fast, taking care of my brothers while they worked. It felt like everything was falling apart. I went over to talk to my dad. He was in the office, looking over piles of paperwork. When I asked him about the restaurant, he sighed and confirmed what my brother had told me. The restaurant was in debt, and they were struggling to keep it afloat. He didn't know what to do. I offered to help, suggesting some marketing strategies I'd learned at my job. My dad looked at me, and for the first time, I saw the pride in his eyes. He had always been so wrapped up in his work that I don't think he ever really saw how much I'd grown up. We spent the next few hours brainstorming ideas. It felt good to be working together on something positive, rather than arguing about my life choices. So here we are. My mom's pregnant, the family business is in trouble, and I'm somehow in the middle of it all, trying to keep the peace and help out. It's been a joyride of emotions, and I'm just hoping we can all pull through this together. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.